So we're here in After Effects. There's a few simple things you want to know in general. If you don't already know them, you might. Right here in the center panel, you have new composition. Generally, these are the settings, the standard settings for HD, which are, good settings to have usually. You say OK. Then this is where you can click this section if you want to go through files to import stuff. But you can also drag from your desktop or whatever folder a video clip, say, into here. And when you drag it in, it'll list anything that you've brought in here. Like you can even bring the same thing multiple times, or you can bring an image file. You can drag that in. So, right here I have a video. You can see scrolling through the timeline. Down here is your layer system, meaning if I take this image and I throw it over, you can see the image is on top of the video clip. And, you can see it's on top of the video clip. So this photo is the top layer. If I switch the order, meaning I drag it to the bottom, now it's hidden behind the video clip because the video clip is larger than the photo. If you wanted to animate the photo, you'd want it visible, so probably on like a top layer or a higher layer. And you could see this little tab here. You click that little tab, then you go to transform. Then say you want to move its position or its scale, rotation, opacity is how transparent it is. So by checking these little boxes, these little stopwatches, I'm activating keyframes on the timeline saying right at this second in time, this picture is going to be in this location. So right here it's in this location because it's the second time. So if I move the timeline marker over here, now that these things are checked, I can drag this photo over here. And then if I scroll the playback, it's going to animate over there. Because I have the rotation also checked, I could rotate it as well. And if you want to rotate it, the rotation tool's in the top toolbar up here. So I just click on that tool, and then I can go over my photo, and I can spin it. And if I spin it a bunch of times, it should spin a bunch of times here. But it's going to spin from the very beginning because I didn't create a placeholder keyframe to tell it when to start spinning. So what you can do is say you didn't want it to spin from 4 seconds in. You only want to start spinning at 4 seconds, say. Then you would need to go to the rotation, click on the rotations keyframe, right click on it. You're going to want to copy the keyframe, so you can't actually right click in After Effects for that. So you click on the keyframe, make sure it's under rotation, then you go up to this top toolbar to edit, copy, and then you have the space at 4 seconds because that's where we want it. And then you go back up to edit, and then you go to paste. So that pastes the same keyframe from here to here, which means you're holding the time taken in that time period. So the picture is going to move side to side, but it's not going to start spinning until that holding keyframe ends. So then you have your spin. Say you wanted to see more behind this photo. You can actually go up to the pen tool here and click on the pen tool, And you can mask out, they call this. It's called masking, where you draw around an image, and then you have to complete the circle, by clicking on the very first point. And you see how it does a cutaway? And then if you hold down on the pen tool, it'll give you more options. For now, we're just going to go to the individual points and bring it. Okay. If something like that pops up, just say okay. So now we're just going to go to the individual points and pull it closer. And then I'm going to show you how to feather the edges, which means giving it soft edges. So if you go over down here again, so this is about this image here. There's a masking tab now, because we created a mask. And if you hit these little tabs, there's the opacity, which has to do with, how transparent it's going to be. But you see the mask feather? If you drag the feather up from the edges in, it'll make it more and more transparent. So the more you drag it, the more transparent it gets. So right there, it's a really nice, very quick effect. Meaning, if you did the pen tool more carefully around your subject, you could get a very exact transparency, so you don't make your subject transparent. But in this case, this is done only in like a minute, and you already got some cool motion graphics going on. Very simple, but another thing you can do is if you see this 3D square thing, if you check that on the layer that you're working on, and then you go up to new layer, and then you create new composition, new layer. Okay, no, it's under File. So if you go to File, New... no, it's not there. Huh. Surprised. Okay. I'll make you another video for that. Okay, so let's pause the video to figure out what was going on. Pretty much what was happening is I was clicked onto this layer, and because I'm clicked onto this layer under Layers, okay, it is working. Anyway, basically under New, you can go under a layer New, you go to Camera, you can create a camera. So if you create a camera, you can go OK, and then what you can do from there is then you get a camera layer, and that camera layer exists in 3D space. So if you go to this middle frame and go to where it says active camera, you go to camera 1, that's your 3D camera now. So then what you can do with this is if you go to the camera tab, you can go to camera options or camera transformation, which is movement. Probably transformation is what we want. And then you can do things like messing with the orientation, which moves this in 3D space. Orient it's different. You see how it has like a curving in and out effect? And you'd want to test each of these moving numbers so you get an idea of where they move things. But just like the other thing before, you can click these stopwatches to create keyframes at one point, and we still have the animation from before where it's spinning, but now we can manipulate the keyframes to position in 3D space, which means we'll be able to get 3D rotation as well. So let's say we go to here, and then with these numbers. You can pull it there. You can push it up. And then we have the rotations. So it's kind of a 3D rotation. No, it's not yet. Okay, so one thing to note is that if your computer is running slow, like there's too much going on for your computer to handle, in this panel, there's a resolution playback, meaning what you're seeing. And if you're at full quality, you can change it down to like a quarter and it should run smoother. And if it's really running slow, you can go to custom, and then you have this pop-up window, and then you can even go lower. So you could go to, instead of a quarter, you could go to 1/8 the resolution, which is going to look not as good, but for the purpose of, accomplishing what you need, it's great. And then if you need a preview of what it looks like at full preview, you can just go, to the full resolution. Quarter resolution is probably fine for most of the time for what you need. Okay, so if you go into views, they give you options of getting different viewport options. So if you click on the first one, you'll have your main frontward compositions, which is pretty much what the camera sees. And then you'll have, I believe this is a top view. So if you click on your camera layer, it'll highlight whatever's the camera. So you can see that the camera is offset looking in this direction. You can see how narrow and not it is. Down here you can control the camera controls. I don't know if you can hear me over Milo. I'm making a tutorial for your brother Jonathan. Anyway, it's my first attempt at it. Yeah, Karen's here and baby's there. Anyway, I'm trying to keep the tutorial simple and quick, but I'll remake it if I need to, if it's confusing, or make it more specific to anything you need to know. So you have two layers here. So you have a picture layer and a video layer. Right now, from the top view, they're at the same location. So if you grab your picture layer on the list, and then it'll pull up these controls. You can grab this arrow, this blue one, and you can pull it forward. So now it's getting pulled forward away from the main picture. By pulling it forward, you're giving it 3D depth. The reason why you don't see the second layer there behind it, the video layer, is we haven't actually turned it to 3D. So we need to scroll down, and you see the 3D square? There's a checkbox for our video layer right here. So we need to check that. So now our video layer is 3D as well. And you can see that it pulled it off to the side. I think that's, yeah, it pulled it off to the side because our camera rotation is moving. So technically our video layer is not moving, it's technically our camera layer. But you can see, hold on. Okay, so with the camera, with the video layer selected, you can move the video layer back and then position it over in whichever direction you want. And if you need to rotate it, you can rotate it. Which you see how it's rotating up and down. It's because I'm using the red one. Control Z works in this program really well. But yeah, you can rotate it any way you need. And you can animate the rotation if needed. Anyway, I'm just undoing that. But yeah, I'll make I'm just gonna undo a couple things. I'm actually gonna turn off the 3D layer in the background one because we don't need it to be 3D. and I am going to move it back over behind because it doesn't need to be 3D. Anyway, this is some basics. I can show you more specific stuff in a separate tutorial because this one's getting a bit long.